Now, today we're going to look at lesson 11.1. Listen, this is our last chapter in the book, okay? So I want you guys to determine to do whatever you can to end this book strong. Some of this information that I'm going to teach you today, based on the rap we just heard, is stuff you have heard and learned before. Mean, median, mode, and range. But I'm also going to teach you two concepts, the outlier and the standard deviation. And those are concepts that you have not learned yet. You're also thinking, oh, Ms. Johnson, this is probably super simple because I only have 5 homework problems. Well, you only have 5 homework problems because each problem takes probably about 5 to 7 minutes to do. All right? So I was gracious enough to only give you 5. But today we're looking at measures of centers and measures of variations. And if you look at your essential question, it says, how can you describe the variation of a data set? Now you're going to notice in your notes you've got some fill in the blank spots. So make sure you're filling in these blanks as we go. Okay? Measures of center represent the center or the typical value of a data set. Okay? So we collected this data, we have all these numbers, and we want to know the measures of center. We've got mean, we've got median, we've got mode, and then we have something called an outlier. All right? So let's talk about each of these. I would fill in those blanks and then I would highlight those words. Okay? What's another name for mean? If I ask you to find the mean, I'm basically asking you to find the what? The average. So if you don't understand the word mean, write down the word average next to that word, okay? The sum of the data divided by the number of values in the data. That's how you find the average, all right? We heard that in the rap. You add all the numbers up and you divide by how many values you just added. The median is that number in the middle. Now, the easiest way I can help you remember this is if you have even remotely started driving or paying attention to driving, where is a median located in the road? In the middle, okay? So the median is the middle number. Now notice, when the values are written in numerical order. So you're not going to be able to find the median if the numbers are not in order from least to greatest. The mode is the number that shows up the most, okay? So again, if my numbers are in order from least to greatest, finding the mode is going to be very quick and very painless. So notice though, there can be one mode, there can be more than one mode, or there can be no mode at all. If no number shows up more than any other number, there would be no mode, okay? You could have 2 numbers that show up 3 times each. Well, then you would have 2 modes. But the mode is the value that occur most often. Now, those 3 words are probably familiar to you. Outlier, probably not. Here's what an outlier is. It is a number that it really makes no sense as to why it's in the list because it's so much higher than your other numbers or so much lower. So the official definition, a data value that is much smaller or larger than the other values in the same data set, okay? It's out there. It's either way higher than all your numbers or it's way lower. So it's called an outlier. Now that leads us into example 1. We're going to keep it simple to start. We're going to find the mean, the median, and the mode. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put these numbers in order from least to greatest. We could do the mean without doing that, but we know we're eventually going to have to do it anyways. So we're just going to go ahead and knock it off right off the bat. All right. What's the smallest number that you see in this list? 1. All right. We've got how many of them? 3. We've got 3 of them. So we're going to put 1, 1, 1, and then we're just going to cross them all out. All right. What's the next number? 2. 2. And we're going to cross it out. All right. The next number? 3 and 3. We got 2. Hold on. We got 2 3s. Got to pay attention. Hey, we got 2 3s. What comes after my 2 3s? I got 2 5s. So I'm going to put 5 and 5. I'm going to mark them out. And then my last number is 15. Now, what do you notice right off the bat in this list? 15. It is so much bigger than all your other numbers. It would be considered your outlier. Now, this problem doesn't ask us to identify that, but it's good that you can already. Okay, 15 is so much bigger than all these other numbers, so it would be considered the outlier. Now, let's start with listing the things that we're going to find. We're going to find the mean, we're going to find the median, and we're going to find the mode. Now, the best thing you can do is whatever work I put on this screen, you can put it in your notes because that will show you what I'm looking for on homework, quizzes, and tests. All right, the mean. What is the first thing we have to do to find the mean? We have to add up all these values. So grab your calculator. I should see everybody working on their calculator today. Nobody should be sitting waiting on somebody else in the class to give us the answer. We're all trying to figure out the answer for ourselves. When we add up all these numbers, what do we get? 36. We get 36. Now, we're supposed to divide by how many numbers did we just add together? 9. So we're going to divide by 9. And what is 36 divided by 9? 4. So our mean is 4. All right, the median. Now, the median's a little bit tricky if there is an even amount of numbers. But right now we have an odd amount of numbers, right? So when you have an odd amount of numbers, where is the median going to be found?
The middle.
Right in the middle, all by itself. It's one number in the center by itself. Now, you can take a guess. You can take your hands and you can work it your way in. But you're looking for the number that is right in the middle. And which number is right in the middle of this list? Okay, the first 3. If we do the first 3, we've got 4 numbers in front of it and we've got 4 numbers behind it. So that is correct. The median is 3. And there's really no work to show other than circling the median in the list. All right, and then the mode. There's really no mode. There's really no work to show for the mode. What number shows up the most? 1. It's in there 3 times. Now there's a 3 twice and a 5 twice, but 1 shows up 3 times, so it is the mode, the number that shows up the most. Now we're going to box in our mean, our median, our mode, and then we're going to go back to the directions, because the second part of the directions say which measure of center best describes the data. So let's look at these measures of center. The mean is a 4, the median is a 3, and the mode is a 1. Which one of those do you think represents the data as a whole the best?
Mean.
All right. Look at the mean though. All right. If we were to insert the mean in our list, it would get inserted down here. All right. Isn't it larger than most of the data, the number 4? Right? Because it would be inserted after the 1, the 1, the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 3. All right. So the mean would be considered to be higher than most of the data. All right. What about the median? All right, the median's already in our list, so that's probably a good bet. But let's check the mode. Where does the mode fall in our list? Down at the bottom, right? So the mode would be considered smaller than most of your data, because after the 1, you've got a 2, a 3, a 3, a 5, a 5, and a 15. Okay, so for this particular problem, the answer to that question would definitely be the median. Okay, and the reason would be because the mean is larger than most of the data. And the mode is, what did we say the mode was? Smaller. The mode is smaller than most of the data. Okay, so these would be your explanations. The median is probably the best measure because the mean is larger than most of your data and the mode is smaller than most of your data. Now let's move to example 2. The first thing they asked us to do is identify the outlier. But what's the first thing we're going to do?
The rest of them.
No, we've got a list of data. We've got a list of numbers. So what are we going to do first before we do anything else?
Put it in order.
Let's put them in order from least to greatest. So even though it's presented to us on a table, we're still going to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. What is the smallest salary that you see?
$8.65.
Okay, hold on, guys. I forgot to tell you this. I did make some changes in your notes, okay, because of time constraints. So actually, you're going to look at your letter B, okay? Letter A, keep it in there because it's a good thing for you to practice later on when you want to go back and really be studious, all right? But the problem that's up on the screen right now is actually letter B in your notes, all right? You see the annual salary problem? So that's the one we're working right now. Okay, so let me ask the question again. What's the smallest salary that you see on your table? 32,000. All right, we got 32,000. What's the next smallest number?
35,000.
35,000. What's after 35,000? Okay, 38,000. And how many times do we have 38,000? Twice. So we got 38,000 twice. What's after 38,000? Okay, we got 41,000. And after 41,000? 42,000. After 42,000? Careful. 45,000. And after 45,000, 72,000. Now, first thing it asks us to identify is the outlier. So let's put the outlier up here by the table. What is the outlier?
72,000.
Good, 72,000. That is a much larger salary than the rest of the numbers in that table. So 72,000 is what we consider our outlier, what we call our outlier. Now, how does the outlier, look at the next part of the directions, how does the outlier affect the mean, median, and the mode? And you can see in smaller print, I put how you're going to figure this out. And this is what I want you to highlight. Okay, grab your highlighters, highlight. You're going to find each, the mean, the median, and the mode with the outlier, and you're going to find each without the outlier, and then we'll find the difference. Okay? Now my suggestion is to start by finding without the outlier. All right? I would start with finding the mean, median, and mode without the outlier. So I'm going to identify this as the without part, and I'm going to write down mean, median, and mode, because those are the three things that we have to find. Okay, so we're really not doing much different than we did a second ago, except this first time through, we're going to pretend that the 72,000 is not there. So grab those calculators and add up 32,000, 35,000, 38,000, 38,000, 41,000, 42,000, and 45,000. And tell me what you get when you add all those together. 271,000. Now, that is what we get when we add them all together. What are we supposed to divide by? Now be very careful, because remember, we're not considering the outlier. So how many numbers did you just add together?
7.
There are 7. Without the outlier, there are 7, which gives me an average of what? Keep in mind, it's going to be, it's money. So give me a money answer.
$38,714.28.
$38,714 and how many cents?
28.
Nope. There's a 5 after the 8.
That's $20.
So the 8 would round to a 9. All right, very good. So there's the mean. There's the average salary. Now, the median. You've got 7 numbers. So looking at those 7 numbers, Luke, which number is right in the middle? 38,000. The second one should be right in the center, because you have 3 numbers to the left of it and you have 3 numbers to the right of it. So your median is $38,000. All right, now look at your mode. Again, the outlier, we're not considering the outlier right now. That's why I have it crossed out. What is the mode of this list of data? 38,000. Why? How many times is 38,000 in the list? Okay, is it the only number that shows up twice? Yes. So this is our first piece of information that we're going to box in. This is our mean, our median, and our mode without the outlier. Now, the second list we're going to do is going to be with the outlier. So again, I would identify that this is going to be with, and I would write mean, median, and mode again. We're going to do it all again. But this time, we are not going to cross out the outlier. This time we're going to keep and use the outlier. Now guys, listen, please don't make this more complicated than you have to. You already added up 7 numbers. What did you get when you added up those first 7 numbers?
271.
Somebody besides Travis. He's giving me all the answers. All of you should be able to tell me this. It's right here on the screen. How much did we get when we added the first 7 numbers together? 271,000. So if we take that number and we add, what's the outlier value? What is the outlier value? So we add 72,000. What do we get, Xander? Get 343,000. Now, Xander, What are we dividing by? How many numbers
8.
this time? We're dividing by 8, and what does that give us as our average? 42,875. Okay, I'm going to have to write this a little bit smaller. Okay, 42,875. Now, what is the median? Now, this is a little bit different than what we've done so far. There are 8 numbers. How are we going to find the median when there is an even amount of numbers? How do we find the median when there's an even amount? Because there's not going to be one number right in the center. Amelia? You find the 2 numbers in the middle and find the mean of those 2 numbers. So, Amelia, what are the 2 numbers in the middle of this list? All right. So 38,000 and 41,000. So everybody grab your calculators again. We got to find the average of these 2. Because those 2 numbers have 3 numbers in the front and 3 numbers behind them. So when you have an even amount of numbers, finding the median is going to take a little bit of extra work. So what is 38,000 plus 41,000? What does that equal? Okay, so we're going to write 79,000. And we're supposed to be dividing by how much? 2. And what does that make the median of our list? 39,500. Awesome. All right, and then the mode. The mode is still 38,000. Everybody agree with that? Yeah, we added 72,000 back in the list, and so that did not change our mode at all. All right, so here's the second group of numbers that we are going to box in. And now we have to compare them. Okay, we have to compare the 2 lists because it asks us, how does the outlier affect the mean, the median, and the mode? So here's what we're going to do. The mean without the outlier was $38,714.29. The mean with the outlier is now over here, 42,875. So what do you notice about the mean when you put the outlier back in? What did it do? It went up, right? There was an increase. All right, let's look at the median. The median was 38,000, and when you put the outlier back in, it's now 39,500. What did the median do? It also increased. And then the mode was 38,000. So did that make any change to the mode when you put the outlier back in? No. So what would your explanation need to be? Your explanation is that the outlier increases the mean and the median, but does nothing to the mode. Okay? So your explanation would be that the outlier increases the median and the mean, but does not change the mode. All right, so you see now, again, if I give you this as a homework problem, it takes a little bit of time to do it. All right, but you got the outlier, you found the mean, median, and mode without it, you found the mean, median, mode with it, and then you compared. There was an increase. Okay, the outlier increases the median and the mean, but doesn't change the mode. Now that takes us to measures of variation. All right, so again, if you've got blanks that you got to fill in, fill them in. This takes us to the measure of variation. This describes the spread or distribution of a data set. So you've got the range and you've got the standard deviation. The range, real simple. We heard about it in our wrap this morning. Okay, the difference between the greatest value and the least value. So once again, putting those numbers in order from least to greatest is going to make your life super simple because you're going to find the biggest number, the smallest number, and you're going to subtract them to find the range. Now, the standard deviation, and you can see, this is another place where I would highlight, this is the symbol that we're going to use right here for standard deviation. It's the sigma symbol, but it's a measure of how much a typical value in the data set differs from the mean. So if my number is a 5 and my average or my mean is a 10, how much difference is there between those two numbers? That's the standard deviation. Now look at how many steps it takes to find the standard deviation. Listen, if you refuse to study, this will be difficult. If you will study, this will not be difficult. All right? Highlight these 5 steps. And before you panic, we're going to put the first 3 steps on a chart, and it's going to make doing step 4 and step 5 super simple. Okay? So highlight steps 1 through 5. Now, before we get into standard deviation, let's do the range. Example number 3. And you'll notice again in the notes, okay, I took out a problem. Leave it in your notes because you can work that problem as extra practice. But for right now, we're looking at golfer A and we're looking at golfer B. All right, so golfer A. Let's put these numbers in order from least to greatest. All right, give me some golfer A scores. All right. We've got 83. We've got 84. Keep going. Got 88. Least to greatest, guys. 88. Oh, we missed 87. We got 87. And then 88. 89. We got 90. 91. How many times we got 95? 2 95s. And 98. Now always double check. The table had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8. We still have 10 numbers. All right, so we're going to find the range. How are we going to find the range? No. The range is simple. The greatest value, which is minus the smallest value, which is 83, which makes your range 15. There you go. All right, golfer B. Golfer B. What's the smallest you see on golfer B?
87.
All right, we got 87, 88, 89 twice.
92, 91.
We got 91.
92 twice.
92 twice.
93. 94. 94.
I don't know. All right, 90. I got stuck at 93. What was it?
94, 95.
94, 95. Okay. All right. So we're going to find the range. All right. So how are we going to find the range of golfer B? 95 minus 87, which equals 8. Awesome. All right, any questions on range? Listen, range is simple, so don't let it be one of the things you struggle with on homework, quizzes, and tests. Study what range is. Okay, it is the largest number minus the smallest number. All right, now let's go on to example number 4, where we're asked to find the standard deviation. Now, if you look at your steps, what does step number 1 for finding standard deviation tell us to do? Find the mean. Okay, so we know we're going to do that first, but we also know that leading into these other steps, it's probably going to be beneficial if these numbers are in order from least to greatest. So let's go ahead and do that first. So looking at letter A, what is the smallest number that you see?
35.
35, and then
40.
40, 45, 55, 60. All right, awesome. So let's find the mean of these numbers. So really quickly, we're going to do what first? We're going to add them up. 35 plus 40 plus 45 plus 55 plus 60. And what is that going to equal? 235. And we're going to divide that by 5, which is going to equal 47. All right, now we're going to circle. We're not going to box because this isn't one of our answers. This is just part of our steps. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you a chart. And if you will learn this chart, I promise you your life will be simple. The first line in this chart is going to be our x values. Okay, those numbers that are given to us. So the first line is going to be our x values. So let's list them. We had 35. We had 40. Right? We had 45. We had 55. And we had 60. Now the second row is going to read an X with a line over it, which it might not be a horrible idea for you to identify what that is. That stands for average. So what was the mean or the average that we already found?
47.
So we are going to put 47 all the way down this chart, right next to each of those X values. Okay, so that's column number 2. Column number 2. Then we're going to take the X value minus the average. So that's going to be our next column. So again, grab those calculators if you need to. What's 35 minus 47? Negative 12. What is 40 minus 47?
Negative 7.
Negative 7. What is 45 minus 47? What is 55 minus 47? 8. And what is 60 minus 47? 13. Awesome. All right. So we've listed the numbers. This wasn't hard. We found the mean. That's not too difficult. And now we've literally taken the first column minus the second column. Now, the fourth column, we're going to take that X minus the average, and we're going to square each value. Is that not step number 3? Doesn't step number 3 say square the difference of the average and the number? So we're going to do that in our next column. Now listen to me. Again, don't make this difficult. If I square a negative number, I'm always going to get what kind of a number? Positive. So what is 12 squared? 144. What is 7 squared? What is 2 squared? What is 8 squared? And what is 13 squared? 169. All right, now, this chart takes care of step 1, step 2, and step 3. What does step 4 ask you to do? So basically, it wants us to take this final row and it wants us to find the average. So look what I'm going to do. Right at the bottom, I'm going to draw me a line and I'm going to add up all those numbers. All right, so again, grab your calculators. 144 plus 49 plus 4 plus 64 plus 169 gives me a total of what?
430.
430. And since I need the average, I'm going to divide by how many numbers?
5.
I'm going to divide by 5. And that gives me an average of what?
86.
86. Now, what does step number 5 ask you to do? So we're going to take the square root of this average and we are going to put it in our calculator and we're going to use this awesome little standard deviation symbol. And what is the square root of 86? How many decimal places do you think I want you to round?
10.
2. If it doesn't tell us, we're going to round to 2. So the standard deviation is approximately what?
9.27.
9.27. And that is how you find the standard deviation. Now, does it take a little bit of work? Yes. But again, if you will memorize the chart and then you'll memorize the steps, this isn't super, super difficult. But if you refuse to study it, then it will be. All right, now I want you to work with your table on letter B. These numbers in order from least to greatest. What's the smallest number in this list? 0.5. All right, and then we have 1.0. And then we have 1.5 how many times? 1.5 twice. And then we have 2.0 and then we have 2.5. All right, so to find the mean, when you add up all those numbers, what did you get? 9. And we're supposed to divide by how many numbers?
6.
Okay. So 9 divided by 6 gives us a mean of what?
1.5.
1.5. All right, remember we're going to circle this. We won't box it, but we need that information. All right, the chart. What went first in the chart?
0.5.
Okay, your numbers, right? That list of numbers that you were given. So we have 0.5, we have 1, we have 1.5, and 1.5, and 2, and 2.5. All right, what goes in the second column?
The mean.
The mean. All right, so all the way down, you're putting that 1.5, that 1.5, that 1.5, that 1.5. Okay, what is happening in the third column? You're subtracting that number that was given from the mean that you found. All right, so 0.5 minus 1.5 is what? Negative 1. What's 1 minus 1.5? Negative 0.5. What's 1.5 minus 1.5?
0.
1.5 minus 1.5? 2 minus 1.5.
0.5.
And 2.5 minus 1.5? 1. All right, and what happens in this last column? We square the number that we just got. So what is 1 squared?
1.
What is 0.5 squared?
0.25.
What's 0 squared?
0.
0 squared?
0.
0.5 squared?
1.25.
And 1 squared.
1.
Awesome. All right. Malcolm, what are we supposed to do next? The chart is filled in, so what do we do next? Add up this last column. And what do you get when you add up that last column? Anybody? 2.5. And what are we supposed to divide by?
6.
Good. So 2.5 divided by 6 gives me approximately what?
0.42.
Okay, 0.42. And I like rounding that 1 to a 2 because that 6 just keeps repeating. And that's going to get weird if we try to write that down. Now, we have the average of this column. So what is the last thing we're supposed to find? The square root of the variance. So we've got that awesome little standard deviation symbol. We're doing the square root of 0.42. And what does that give me? Approximately
0.65.
0.65 as my standard deviation. And that is lesson 11.1.